And it's welcome to Steve Bone. Steve, as ever, so much to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Um, well, I suppose we should start with the Wrexham game, shouldn't we? Really, that'd be the logical place to start. Um, Mixed emotions, I think, afterwards. Really, you're coming away from a third game in a row where we failed to score, so that is a frustration, and it could become a problem if we don't solve that soon. But it was the second half I thought was much better, and we did everything but score, really, didn't we? We had chances. One of those could easily have gone in. I mean, it wasn't unlike the second half against Stoke in a way, but this time our pressure was a bit more sustained. Because against Stoke, I thought for 20 minutes we were really good. We deserved to be in front. We just didn't put one away, and then went off the boil, let one in, never really came back again. But against Wrexham, it wasn't the whole second half, but it was a more sustained period of pressure. We were playing well. We were keeping the ball. We were using it well. Murphy was outstanding on the left, cross after cross from him. Others were getting into good positions. We just didn't stick it away, which happens, doesn't it? When a team has gone a couple of games without a goal, it can play on the mind a little bit. You can sort of almost try too hard to get into the right position to score, I think. So, yeah, frustrating that we didn't score, but I think if we can have that sort of tempo and that sort of pace and that sort of style of play at home for the rest of the season, for 90 minutes in every game, might be asking a bit much, we'll be okay. We'll beat more teams than we lose to. And that home record at the moment, 1-2, drawn 2, lost 4, which isn't great, is it? It's only marginally worse than it was after 8 home games last year, when it was 2-3-3, I think. So yeah, as I say, mixed feelings, but a lot of sort of positive things to take from it as well.
Any idea what went wrong at Birmingham?
Well, no, it was just a disaster from start to finish, wasn't it? Really, I just think sometimes you can tell from the first 5 or 10 minutes that you're going to be in for a long afternoon, and I think that was the case for probably most of the Pompey fans who were there. Started slowly. They were getting in behind. They were getting crosses in. Penalty after I don't know how many minutes it was. Was it after 6 or 7 minutes that we kept out? But that just delayed the inevitable. Probably did well to keep it at 1-0 at half time. Had a bit of a brighter spell, as is often the case when you've been under the cosh. But then second half very poor, basic, bad defending really for at least 2 of their goals. We had a couple of days like that last season, didn't we? Probably more than a couple, actually. But on the back of 2, I think a day like that seems worse when it's following 2 straight home defeats. Even though those performances were not as bad as the Birmingham performance, the cumulative effect of 3 defeats and the third one is a terrible performance. Just leaves you thinking, well, what are we doing here? Where are we going? How are we going to turn this around?
Yes, John Massino came out with a great quote, which we quoted, and a lot of people picked up on it. They hadn't spotted it. He said, "We were lucky to lose 4-0. We got away with it," he said.
Yeah. What did people used to say? We were lucky to get nil.
Yes.
One of those days, wasn't it? Really. Sometimes, I mean, he's a very honest. He's always very honest in his post-match interviews, isn't he? You rarely hear him sum up a game and think, what game was he watching? If Pompey have been bad, he'll say so. He won't really call out individual players in those interviews, which I think is probably right. But he'll if his team have played badly, he will say so, and he will also say, it's on us as well as the staff. We've sent them out there, we've set them up. We need to look at what we could have done better, as well as the players looking at what they could have done better. But yeah, he wasn't wrong about that. And actually, the Birmingham result was put into a little bit of context, I thought, when they then beat Millwall 4-0 in their next game on Tuesday night. Millwall have been going well, so that was a good result for them. So maybe we just caught Birmingham at a time where they're finding their feet, finding their rhythm, their tails are up. So maybe it was a bit of Birmingham being good as well as us being bad. wasn't just us being bad.
Yeah, picture this. You're John Messino, you're in your office, the phone rings, it's Andy Cullen's secretary. She says, a couple of things, John. Andy says, could you make yourself available on the night of the 25th, only we're doing a Q&A with some fans. And do you need any more creamer for the coffee point over there? Oh, and P.S., Michael Eisner's coming over.
Yeah, you'd answer the one about the coffee machine first, I think, wouldn't you? Probably. Yeah, well, I think the visit from the Eisners was known about a little while in advance. I think they came over this time last year, didn't they? Or it seemed to be around this time. Doesn't seem to have been timed because we're struggling a bit. Just as I don't think they necessarily time their visits if they know we're in a good spell. From what we hear from both sides, actually, from the manager and from Michael Eisner, who gave an interview while he was over here, didn't he? Didn't do a round of interviews, but did one. It does seem like the owners have a lot of time and respect for the manager, and the manager has quite not an open door as such, but I think there's a fair bit of contact between Messino and Eisner and the Eisners. They seem to get on okay. I don't think the Eisners put any sort of undue pressure on the management that they're not putting on themselves. Everybody knows, it's results business, isn't it? Football. If Pompey carry on losing and are in the bottom three at Christmas, there will be questions about whether there should be a change of manager. I'm sure there will be that sort of talk, and the owners know that as much as the manager. But I think they were due to meet on Thursday, the day after the Wrexham game, and I guess they would have talked about everything. They would have talked about the season so far, last summer's transfer window, and importantly they would have talked about the next transfer window, because the manager, I'm sure, is now beginning to work out what he wants and how many he wants, what type of players he wants, and he will need to know, in partnership with Richard Hughes, that the money will be there for it.
Yes, lots of fans are saying, as you know, that it's time to start spending some money. But what do you get for 10 million quid?
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee you anything, does it? No. And we're not going to, and also we're not going to, let's be honest, we're not going to spend 10 million quid, are we? The owners aren't suddenly going to change their spending model or their spending approach in January if we're still 20th in the league. They will spend money and they will do what they can to support what the manager and Rich Hughes want to do in terms of bringing people in, but they're not going to spend millions and millions. There will be a lot of people saying we need to use January to make sure we've got another striker, proper backup, experienced, good, solid, dependable backup to Colby, who's had a tough season so far, and that won't come cheap. If you're looking to bring in somebody who knows this level, or is just below it, or maybe has even played higher, or is a good, promising youngster, and you're looking to buy that player rather than loan them, you're going to have to spend a fair bit, aren't you? So maybe they will up the amount that they'd be willing to spend on one player. I just hope that, if we are talking about January, I just hope that they don't need a lot of players in January. I just think it needs to be a targeted approach, doesn't it? It needs to be a couple of players who can make a difference immediately to this team and this squad. We don't need any more 21-year-olds who haven't really played in the Football League, who might be good next year or the year after that. We need, and I know it's easier said than done, but we need Callum Lang type signings, don't we? That we managed a couple of Januaries ago. We need people that have got a good chance of forcing their way into the team and hitting the ground running and making a difference for us.
Now, speaking of Lang, if you were to identify 4 or 5 Pompey players who would probably be threatening to be in the starting lineup of any of the Championship sides, no matter how high up the table you go, they are Nicholas Smith, Shaughnessy, Sejicic, Murphy and Lang, and we've been without them for 2 months.
That's right. Yeah, we're without half the team, aren't we? Really,
Starters.
Half of what you would think would be the first choice starting 11. Exactly. Murphy, he's back now. I believe he's not necessarily going to be risked for 90 minutes against Hull, which you can kind of understand. He had a quite a shift the other night, didn't he, against Wrexham? So you don't want to overdo it with him. But so he's been missing. He was out for 6 weeks. Lang was played a game and a half so far this season, hasn't he? But he's back on the 22nd of November, we believe, against Millwall. Segacic back at the same time. He was with us until sort of early October, I think, wasn't it, before he got injured. So he's coming back. Schmidt is another. I've seen a few people this week saying, will Schmidt necessarily walk straight back into the team when he's fit? Which surprised me a little bit, because I think he will. No, that's not a criticism of Bursic necessarily. I think he's done okay, but I don't think he's done enough to keep Schmidt out of the team. So I think he'll be coming back in, and that is apparently going to be around the same time, late November. Shaughnessy is out for a bit longer, I think, isn't he? So yeah, we could potentially have all 5 of those players all in the starting lineup by the sort of middle of December, as long as none of them get injured in the meantime.
Well, I was going to say we could have quite a starting lineup on November the 22nd for Connor Ogilvie to watch from the stand.
Yeah, we don't know how long he's going to be out yet, do we? Unusual for him, because he's a tough old unit, isn't he? He doesn't even when he does pick up a knock, he seems to recover quickly from it. But this seems to be a knee injury. I was further along the north stand from the bit of touchline where it happened. How it wasn't given us a foul, don't know. I agree with the manager on that point. It was clearly one of the clearest fouls of the evening.
Well, tell us what happened. Was it afters?
It was just a late challenge. Yeah, they were both going for the ball, which was about to go out on the north touchline, and the Wrexham player just sort of caught him late. It wasn't a nasty challenge, it wasn't malicious particularly, but it was late, and on another night could have been a yellow card, you would have thought, but the referee didn't even deem it a foul, which was odd. And the linesman was, as linesmen often are, was 5 yards away and didn't look to give the referee any help, seemingly, as to what he should do. So I think Connor is having a scan, isn't he, and we probably won't know much until next week. I hope he's not out for too long, although one thing I would say is I thought Williams coming on to that side, not his natural side, I thought he was excellent against Wrexham. I thought he defended well, got forward, got stuck in, some meaty challenges from him. So if he is the deputy on that side all the time, Ogilvie is out, and I'd imagine he will be if he can last the pace and if he can stay fit himself. Then I've got no qualms about that. I look forward to seeing a bit more of him. I like Williams, as you know.
How big a risk?
This is your dog. This is your dog.
This is that dog. Yes. The front gates are open, and she can see out into the road, and
it's fatal.
She'll bark at anything that moves, and indeed anything that's static. We could use her in our back four. I think she'd shake things up a little bit. Speaking of which, don't you think the manager was brave to play BOWAT after Birmingham?
Yeah, it was a big call, wasn't it? There were so many changes. It was a job to work out who was coming in for who, wasn't it? Because it was a formation change as well. 3-4-3 instead of his preferred 4-2-3-1. And yeah, I think a lot of Pompey fans would have been a little bit worried to see him on the team sheet, and a bit surprised. But actually he did okay, didn't he? It's probably his best game for us yet. I know he hasn't played many games, so that's not a very high bar, but he looked quite assured, actually. He looked quite confident with the ball at his feet. Didn't do anything silly, did he? Played sensible passes around, and I thought defended well, as did the other two in the back three against Wrexham. I thought Wrexham were a bit sort of limited in some ways, which is another reason why it was disappointing not to beat them. But you can't argue with the clean sheet. You can't argue with the way we defended. And maybe BOWAT is just playing himself into contention a little bit. I think he was written off by some after that early season game. It was a cup game, I think, wasn't it? He came in for, and the whole team looked a bit shaky that night. Him and Farrell and some other people didn't look as though they would be up to the rigours of the Championship. But no, he looked good. Clearly we've seen something in him before we've signed him. That's why we've signed him. He's been out a long time. We've given him that time, so he's another option, isn't he? And while Shaughnessy is still out, you need some options there at the back. But what will be interesting to see is whether the manager carries on with the three at the back idea at Hull tomorrow. I'm not sure he will. I mean, it was given that the performance was a lot better than Birmingham, where he didn't go with 3-4-3. Maybe he will just stick with it for another game and see what it brings. But I think we'll see more of BOWAT as the season goes on.
Yep. And Regan Paul enjoyed himself as a right-sided centre half.
Yes, more his side, isn't it? He's that's his natural side. He's very right-footed, and he just looks a little bit more comfortable that side. And had a good game. I think he's had a good season actually. I know there've been a couple of games where defensively we haven't been great, but I don't think there's too much you could pin on him in individual games. He's one of those who's going to be in your starting 11. Whoever else comes and goes in that defence, and even when Shaughnessy's back, you would still think that Poole is going to play most games if he can stay fit, and let's hope he can. Dependable figure. I'll tell you what we're missing a little bit this season, especially if you compare it to a couple of seasons ago. We're missing goals by defenders from set pieces, aren't we?
Yes.
A couple of seasons ago in the League One, Poole scored 2 or 3. Shaughnessy scored probably a bit more than that. Ogilvie weighed in with a couple. We could do with some of them, couldn't we? Our set pieces haven't been. We don't look as threatening from them as we did at one time. So I don't know why that is. We had enough corners second half, didn't we, to last for a few games, but didn't really sort of make the most of them. So it'd be nice to see Regan nod one in from a yard out at some point soon. If he's listening, that's your job, Regan. Go and get us a goal.
Absolutely. It's something that Shaughnessy, of course, does so well. He is very dominant in the air. Perhaps we're a couple or 3 inches short, height-wise. It didn't hurt Wrexham, did it, having a 6'6" centre forward, the redoubtable Moore? We
do seem to be generally shorter than almost every other team, don't we, in that Championship?
Yes.
I'd like to know here's your next research project. I know you like to go away and look at these things. Work out what the total height is of the Pompey starting 11 on a given day against the total height of the other team, and I bet there's about a foot in total a difference between the two.
I did do this last season, the season before last, when we were in League One, and we just played a particularly big side. I can't remember who it was. They're all big, and I did that some, and we were on average 2.5 inches shorter and nearly a stone lighter than each individual player of the other side, and that's significant.
It's weight as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get Mickey Droy out of retirement and bring him into the defence to add a few stone on.
Mickey Droy. I used to share a flat with his sister. Platonic, but I was always fascinated by the fact that she wasn't particularly tall. And she didn't like football.
Well, there we go. There's your Mickey Droy.
Well, thank you for mentioning Mickey Droy.
Fact of the day. I don't know why he came to mind. I mentioned him to somebody the other night for some reason at the game. I can't remember. We were talking about Crystal Palace or something. I can't remember how we got onto it now. But I wonder what he's up to now.
People are getting bigger. Footballers are getting bigger. When I was a boy, we had a centre half called Jack Charlton for England, and people used to be impressed with the fact that he was nearly 6'3".
Yes, that's right. That's quite. He'd be one of the shorter ones in most Championship defences now.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's because the human race is getting taller and faster and bigger. Is it? I don't know. I don't know if the football trend reflects the general population trend. But we could. I do think Pompey could do a one or two more big lads, shall we call them?
Well, Matthews is tall, but I think apparently Pompey have been putting some of these Australian lads, beam poles, some of them, on diets to build them up. And somebody else, Mick Robertson, was saying that Matthews looks good on the ball. He's great. He carries it well. He passes it well. But there are times when he looks, and I think Mick's word was a little frail.
Yes, yeah. He's not got the bulk to sort of hold off some of these big forwards and big strikers that a lot of these teams have. They're big and fast, aren't they? A lot of these strikers. Sometimes you get a big player who because of his size and his weight, is not the fastest. But in the Championship, particularly, there does seem to be a lot who have the pace as well. And yeah, we do sometimes look a little bit lightweight across that back line compared to the front lines we're defending against.
Yeah, and it's well worth remembering as well that we do have a number of particularly diminutive players who use their physicality, their lack of weight and height to their advantage. Segacic is always saying, he's 5'5", but he can use that to his advantage. And I think Chaplin is nearer 5 foot than 6 foot. Josh Murphy, there's nothing of him, and of course Yang as well is not exactly a light heavyweight.
Yeah, you need a mixture in your team, don't you? You don't want 11 players who are all 6'4" and all have the same attributes. You need a mixture, but we do seem to have more of the diminutive types than most teams, don't we?
Let's talk about Chaplin, shall we? Let me get your views on Chaplin, because he, dare I say it out loud, and do you agree, he's starting to come good?
He is. I think he is. It's taken a while, hasn't it? I think when we signed him, everybody thought, yeah, this is brilliant. He's going to be star player from day one. He's going to be man of the match every week. He's going to score loads of goals and he's going to assist loads of goals. But it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, in the last 2 games he's played, I think he's looked significantly better than most of the previous ones. He was a bit unlucky against Stoke with a couple of efforts. He's not afraid, despite the fact that he hasn't done it for us yet on his return. He's not afraid to have a go, is he? He's looking for the ball. You can see he's wanting to get on the ball. He's wanting to sort of drive at his man. He's wanting to look for a little space for a shot. He was unlucky with that volley. So sorry, going back to the Stoke game, I thought he was a little bit unlucky not to score there. And if he'd scored and we'd gone 1-0 up and won 1-0, we'd be having totally different conversations now, wouldn't we? So he was unlucky there, and particularly unlucky the other night. That volley in the first half that he caught, couldn't have caught it better, could he? And I think it hit one of the Wrexham players. Did it hit Kiefer Moore on its way into goal?
I think so, yeah, you're right.
Somebody like that, wasn't it? And then I thought in the second half, when Pompey were getting it together and were pressing and were opening them up and creating chances, I thought he was a key part of that. He was a bit more central, wasn't he? A bit more like a number 10 than sort of drifting too far out to the right, which I think suits him. I think he's wherever the manager asks him to start the game, I think Chaplin is sensible enough to he knows if he needs to sort of adapt that position as the game goes on. He's old enough and wise enough to be able to do that for himself, and I think there's a little bit of that is what he's doing. You just keep on thinking, if he can get that goal or an assist, that first one will probably set him off on a good run. It will lift his confidence. The crowd will suddenly be behind him, whereas at the moment the crowd don't know. Nobody wants to criticise him or say he shouldn't be in the team or say why have we signed him. But the crowd are just waiting for that spark from him. They know that he can produce a little bit of magic. They know that he can score goals and can finish well from outside the box or inside. Just needs to happen that once, and we're sort of desperate for it to happen soon for him. Because if it, on the 22nd of November, if he hasn't scored, well, let's put it a different way. If he doesn't score or assist at Hull tomorrow, if he plays, that is, then the next game he's suddenly going to be up against all the other players already in the squad, plus Lang and Segacic for a place across that three. So he might find himself on the bench a little bit more if it doesn't come good for him soon. But I think it will. I think by Christmas we'll be saying, oh, he had a slow start, but we just needed to be patient with him. I'm hoping so anyway.
Let's have a few words about Murphy, shall we? Because when you play junior football or Sunday morning pub football, and either you or the other team have got one of those players who is particularly better than everybody else. We used to play twice a year, a team that had a guy playing for them who went on to play 170 times for Manchester United, and he could score whenever he wanted to. But his team was so stupid, they didn't realise that all they had to do was give him the ball. They still carried on as if he was just another one of the 10 outfield players. Whereas what you do if you've got somebody who can beat the opposition on his own, then you give him as much of the ball as possible. Should we be thinking along those lines whenever Murphy's on the pitch and cooking?
I think we should at the moment, because he does look, particularly in that second half on Wednesday, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? We did give him a lot of the ball, and every time he got it, he was quite often he was doing the same thing against the fullback. I forget the fullback's name now, but he had the beating of him every time. There were early crosses coming in, or there was a run to the byline and then a cross, or there was a cut inside and a ball into the middle from there. And yeah, I think if he's in that sort of form, and we know from last season what he can do, how effective he can be as a crosser of the ball with either foot, and as somebody who likes to have a go. If he gets into a central position, he'll have a shot at goal as well, and some of those went in as well, didn't they, last season? Yeah, I think absolutely make that the plan A, or whatever formation you're playing. Give it to Murphy every time, because if there will be games where that happens, and the opposition will put two men on him. They'll put the fullback and the winger on the right winger on him as well. If that happens, that's fine, because that just frees up a bit of space for somebody else.
There was a moment. There was a moment against Wrexham which is burned into my memory when he went past both of the two men that they'd put on him. And he went past them in the old-fashioned way, like almost like an old-fashioned winger, like a Stanley Matthews or something. He simply dribbled round them, and away he went. And it was glorious. You just don't see enough of that in modern football.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's right, the old-fashioned wingers, yeah. And if he has a chance to... What I like about Murphy, if he has a chance to cross, in it comes straight away, doesn't it? He doesn't think about it and look for a slightly better opening from where he might cross. If he's got a chance to cross, he crosses it. Quite often it's with his left foot, which is his weaker foot, but it's still a good cross, because it's the opposition sometimes don't expect that until later in a game where they've got to know his game. He's just dying for Bishop to get on the end of one of them again, aren't you? As he did at West Brom last time he scored, wasn't it? I think at end of August. That was from a nice Murphy cross. So yeah, if Murphy's in that team, give him the ball every 30 seconds if you can, right. And eventually he's going to set somebody up, isn't he?
Before I ask you for your predictions for Hull, the score, I'm going to ask you for your predictions for what is now becoming quite a game of roulette, and that is at 2:00 in the afternoon on Saturday. How many changes against Hull?
I think there'll be at least one, won't there? Because Ogilvie was a starter and won't be, so that will count as one. I'm going to say 4 changes. I don't necessarily know who they'll be, but I think he will just look to change it around again. He's not afraid to make numerous changes, is he?
No.
Some managers like to. They get their 11, they stick to that as much as they can. But Messino, even after a win, sometimes will make 3 or 4 changes. He sees it very much as a squad game, doesn't he? I don't think there are many in that team that are guaranteed starters. So I'm going to go for 4 changes, and I think that will include Williams in for Ogilvie. I think we might see Pack come back into it. I actually thought I can understand why Pack was left out after Birmingham. He was one of many that didn't have a good game. But I just think if Pack had played the 90 minutes against Wrexham, I think we'd have had a better first half. I thought the first half against Wrexham, if we can go back to that game briefly, was very sort of frantic and fractious. And there was neither side had any control or kept the ball for more than about 10 seconds. And I just thought if Pack had come on, if Pack had been on from the start or had come on earlier, I just think he might have just slowed it down a little bit, and the Pompey's forward play might have been a bit more sensible and a bit more structured before we started to put the pressure on. So I think Pack might come back in for LaRue, possibly, or possibly even for Dazal. Dazal not been quite at his best last couple of games, so may need a game out. And there's talk that, as we've hinted at already, there's talk from the manager that Murphy might not start, in which case you would expect Yang to come in on that side.
Oh, have we started believing John Messino again?
Well, I don't know. That's the trick, isn't it? All the time we don't believe him, he sticks to his word, doesn't he? But then when we start to believe him again, he'll go back to he'll probably unleash somebody we thought was injured tomorrow, which might be a nice surprise. Yes. So I'm going to go for four changes. I'm going to go 4 changes.
And let's cut to the chase. What's the score going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
Same as we got at Hull at this time last season, slightly earlier, a week earlier. Yes. I think it was at the start of November. It was when we were still really marooned a little bit at the bottom, still looking for an upturn, and it was the first game where we really sort of turned the pressing game to our advantage, and I can't remember if we were 2-1 up or 2-1 down, but I know we were leading at one stage. I think Matt Ritchie got one of the goals. How we'd like him to be around still, wouldn't we, at the moment, to do a bit of the help with the pressing. I do think there have been quite a few games we've seen this season where you kind of think he would have improved things, but he's not here, so you've got to get on with it. So it was 2-2 at Hull last season. I'm going to go for the same again, and I wouldn't be unhappy with that, although it wouldn't get as far away from the position we're in at the bottom of the table. It would be, suddenly you've had 3 defeats and then you've had 2 draws. It's little steps in the right direction.
A point on the road is always worth taking. Okay, Steve, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Look forward to it.